Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Your JPY price analysis upside still seen targeting 127.50 http ntvforex.com news ID 543702 6 minutes ago by Pablo Piavano. Your JPY eases from Thursday AS new 2020 tops near 126.80. Further up now aligns the March 2019 high in the mid 127.00s. Your JPYs is now seeing some selling mood after printing fresh 2020 highs around 126.70 on Thursday, levels last traded in April 2019. Further upside remains well on the cards amidst the current positive environment, and there are no relevant hurdles until the March 2019 high in the 127.50 region. It is worth mentioning, however, that the cross has already entered the overbought territory as per the daily RSI, opening the door for a technical correction. The constructive view around your JPY is predicted to remain unchanged while above the 200-day SMA at 120.21. Your JPY weekly chart. Your JPY overview today: last price 125.98, today daily change 72, today daily change percent 0.27, today daily open 126.32, NBSP trends daily SMA 20 124.3, daily SMA 50 122.41, daily SMA 100 120, daily SMA 200 120.23, NBSP levels: previous daily high 126.76, previous daily low 125.91, previous weekly high 125.59, previous weekly low 123.99, previous monthly high 125.21, previous monthly low 120.26, daily Fibonacci 38.2%, 126.43, daily Fibonacci 61.8%, 126.23, daily pivot point S1 125.9, daily pivot point S2 125.49, daily pivot point S3 125.06, daily pivot point R1 126.75, daily pivot point R2 127.17, daily pivot point R3 127.59, NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Prepare for another huge fall in Japanese GDP analysis. http ntvforex.com news ID CEB10D814 2020 11:04:17 AM. A fall of about 20% annualized in second quarter. Japanese GDP is not a big event these days, but for what it is worth, this is how we arrive at our forecasts. NBSP private consumption down 19% at 56% of real GDP. Private consumer spending is the biggest component of the GDP forecast, so if we get this wrong, it will color the entire forecast. So we take two approaches to this. Firstly, we seasonally adjust the monthly household expenditure MHE data, which is a nominal series, so we also ought to deflate this, though with inflation so low currently, it's not essential. As an audit on this approach, we also take the real living expenditure lay survey data, which is already adjusted for prices and seasonal adjustment. NBSP both indices point to strong contractions, which equate to about a 5% QOQ decline in private consumer spending, or about a 19% decline at a seasonally adjusted annualized rate SAR. NBSP private consumer spending forecast sourcing: private consumer spending Japan. NBSP investment. Private business investment in plant and machinery is another sizable component of GDP, about 15.6% of the total, but more volatile than consumer spending. So while consumption is bigger, you are more likely to get investment wrong. There are a number of higher frequency economic series we can look at to help us judge how this will work out, but the machinery orders series is a good place to start. All such indices point to sharp declines in business investment of a little under 6% QOQ, or about a 21% fall SAR. NBSP Business Investment Sourcing NBSP Residential investment accounts for less than 3% of total real GDP, so we don't need to be too careful about this, although it is also volatile, and scope for error is large. From monthly construction data on dwellings, it appears that private residential investment will decline by about 7.5% QoQ in 2Q20. Another component of investment is government investment. This is typically captured by series on the construction of non-residential buildings and structures, roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, etc. At about 5% of GDP, it is a bit larger than residential construction, but it is also hard to find consistent data proxies. Our data suggests about a 5.8% QoQ increase, reflecting the government's stimulus measures, and is one of the few positive contributions to private domestic demand this quarter. But this is not a high conviction part of the forecast, and this could well contribute significantly to any overall forecasting error. NBSP Private Residential Investment Sourcing Residential Investment NBSP Trade Net trade could be a substantial drag on GDP in 2Q20. But exactly how much remains an open question. Quarterly nominal export growth fell by about 6% QoQ in the second quarter. The equivalent figure for imports actually rose by 2%. But those figures have to be deflated for export and import price changes, and this series was very volatile in 2Q20, with export prices falling 3%, increasing the real decline in exports, while if we can believe the data, import prices fell by more than 12% over the quarter, increasing the rise in real imports. NBSP For all the number crunching, the correlation between price-adjusted trade data and the GDP series is not very good, so we have applied a liberal dose of wet finger to this part of the forecast, and again, the scope for error is large. NBSP loosely tied to the net trade figures is private inventory adjustment. Together with trade, this component can deliver a big shock to forecasters, as it is often the repository for whatever the official statisticians could not find a home for in other components. GDP negative import surges in the trade data, such as we have here, are often accompanied by big GDP positive surges in inventories. Monthly inventory data is of almost no help in gauging the extent of this, and we are left making an educated guess about the extent of the import surge in 2Q that simply accrued to inventories. Our best guess is that the net effect of this is to roughly have the drag that would have occurred from net trade. NBSP exports sourcing NBSP putting it all together, about 20% SAR seems right when you throw all of the various constituent parts of this GDP forecast into a spreadsheet and add them all up. What drops out is a QoQ decline of a little under 5%, which delivers an annualized decline in the region of 20%. NBSP We would not be surprised to see the number come in considerably different to this, though this is also not far from the consensus view about a 25% decline. In terms of the risk to this forecast, it probably lies in a slightly less awful, less negative figure, and will probably come through surprises in the net trade and inventory contributions. Nevertheless, it is difficult to see the market reading in anything particular positive into an annualized GDP decline of close to 20%, even if it comes in below consensus, so the market response, in that case, might be quite muted. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. EUR/USD rally overextended, dollar still the king. A Rabobank ntvforex.com news ID 854,821 4 minutes ago by NTV Forex team. While the drop in the value of the USD can be explained by fundamental factors, the USDA's safe haven qualities are derived from its intrinsic qualities rather than those of the US economy. Economists at Rabobank see risk that the move in EUR is overstretched and forecast the EUR/USD pair at 1.1516 on a 3-month view. Key quotes A. Although the USDA's weakness in recent months can be explained by changes in fundamental factors, it is the intrinsic qualities of the USD rather than those of the US economy that defines its safe haven appeal. These qualities are likely to ensure that the USD will continue to be a strong recipient of safe haven flows on any further sharp pullbacks in risk appetite. NBSPA relative growth rates, central bank policy, the path of China-US tensions and the outcome of the US election will all play their part in influencing the performance of the USD from day to day. Even though the fundamentals behind the US have weakened, the dominance of the USD remains unchallenged, and this is likely to be the case at least for several decades to come. The Eurozone still faces significant economic challenges amid concerns about a second wave of COVID-19 in some areas. Additionally, the formation of the Ital Exit Party on July 23 suggests that fears of anti-EU sentiment cannot be entirely dismissed. NBSPA we see risk of pullbacks in EUR/USD, though fresh direction may be absent until liquidity returns to normal levels in September. We expect a move back to the EUR/1 $1.16 1.15 area on a 3-month view. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Gold bulls are starting to get going again. Video analysis http://ntvforex.com News ID C74018142020110831 AM Gold. For a while now, we have been looking to use a near-term correction on gold to be a medium-term buying opportunity. After the 10% correction in the past week, the move appears to be settling down now. Subsequently, we believe that this run higher is likely to be getting back on track once more. The technicals are stabilizing, with RSI around 50 and stochastics also beginning to tick higher, although the MACD lines, which are more of a medium-term indicator, are still in retreat. The main caveat for us comes not from technicals, but of how the market would respond to a US fiscal support package. This is likely to cause some near-term volatility again if when announced. In its absence though, the gold bulls are starting to get going again. The hourly chart shows improvement through higher lows and higher highs in the past 48 hours. Following initial consideration of resistance at $1,940–$1,949, the market is looking to pull higher again, and to use this as a basis of support now. The hourly momentum indicators are no longer corrective and are at least taking a more neutral configuration. It means that support initially at $1,920 but more importantly at $1,906 is growing in importance now as a near-term gauge. Yesterday's high of $1,965 is an initial barrier this morning, but a retest of $1,984 old consolidation resistance could now be seen. We cannot rule out another lurch lower on the announcement of a US fiscal support package, but it looks to be that this weakness is a chance to buy and the market is looking for medium-term opportunities now. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Falling Bitcoin dominance is good news for cryptist. ntvforex.com News ID EF37701 1 minutes ago. After a short pause, the first cryptocurrency has returned to growth. Although Bitcoin is not leading in terms of growth rate, still the positive dynamics it creates a favorable environment for most altcoins. Bitcoin adds about 2% over the last 24 hours and changes hands near $11,800. Recently, BTC touched $12,000, so for participants to confirm the bullish bias, it is now essential to see a rise above this level. Bitcoin is an asset that must continuously grow to keep the traction of the rest of the crypto market. The traditional stock market has adopted this tactic from Bitcoin. As a result, the famous Buffett indicator total US stock market to GDP gives a warning. This indicator once worked back before the collapse of the dot-coms. When this ratio is above 100%, there is reason to believe that the market is overheated. It is hard to say how one can find a substitute for GDP for cryptocurrencies. Market participants here are likely to be satisfied with reports of technical updates or partnerships. For example, the announcement from Tron and Waves on the unification of their ecosystems led Waves to jump 42%, while Tron grew by 16%. A stunning recent success story is the Chainlink http://ntvforex.com news ID EF3770, which not only storms into the top 10 cryptocurrencies but has already passed one of the most highly capitalized Bitcoin forks, Bitcoin Cash BCH, in 5th place. The impressive growth started at the end of July and led 150% price increase until now. The coin is riding the wave of DeFi popularity and the heightened need to interact smart contracts with external systems, including banking. However, cryptocurrencies are getting the main impulse along with the traditional financial system, as well as due to the growing demand from institutional investors. A few days ago, the open interest in Bitcoin futures on CME jumped to $841 MLN. The Nasdaq MicroStrategy announced the purchase of 21,000 Bitcoins. It is still difficult to say where this will lead the crypto market and Bitcoins. However, it is safe to say that without institutional money, the crypto market won't be able to get out of the winter stage. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Europe slumps on UK quarantines analysis http://ntvforex.com news ID 2328F08142020 11:18:55 AM. European stock markets are ending the week on a sour note, as rising COVID numbers on the continent force the UK government to impose stricter travel restrictions. This comes just as the travel and tourism sector was starting to get back on its feet after being decimated by the pandemic, with countries going into lockdown, borders closing, and planes remaining grounded. The decision to add France to the list of quarantine countries affects a huge amount of British holidaymakers and adds the country to a list of frustrated holiday destinations that also includes Spain, that depends on travellers from the UK. The decision is not going to be welcomed with open arms here in the UK either, with holidaymakers already in France now being subject to costly return journeys, assuming they can do it at all before tomorrow's 4 AM deadline, or a 2-week quarantine. The price of travel has naturally soared due to the increased demand, piling further misery on those forced to return. What's more, the move by the UK government is unlikely to come without reciprocation, meaning UK businesses that rely on tourists from France and other that have been added to the list will also suffer. The government claims the move is necessary to keep numbers in the UK low, having been heavily criticised for its laboured decision-making back in March. Now if cases surpass 20 per 100,000 on average over 7 days, quarantine will follow, clearly without any exception. The moves in Europe haven't had too great an impact on sentiment the other side of the pond, with futures only off around 0.5%. US traders will be far more concerned with the retail sales data, due shortly before the open, with spending seen rising another 2% in July, following an impressive bounce back in May and June. The additional restrictions in response to the sharp rise in cases and deaths from COVID will likely have taken its toll on spending last month and may continue to in the near term. NBSP oil slips as IEA lowers oil demand forecasts. In keeping with the latest developments in the UK, IEA lowered its global oil demand forecasts for this year and next due, in part, to lower air travel, with July seeing 2/3 fewer flights than the same month last year. Oil prices weren't overly thrown by the more gloomy forecasts, with crude off around 0.5% today, pulling a little further off the upper end of its recent range. The ever-evolving COVID situation makes forecasting anything too far into the future exceptionally difficult and subject to significant revisions, which perhaps explains the limited response to the downgrade. NBSP precious metal recovery stalls as real yields rise back above 1%. The gold recovery trade over the last couple of days has run out of steam, with the yellow metal slipping a little today after running into some resistance around $1,960. Real 10-year yields in the US slipped back below 1% on Thursday but have climbed back above here, which has taken the edge off the precious metal comeback. Silver is suffering a similar fate, but, being gold's more volatile sibling, it's doing so in more dramatic fashion. A 15% decline earlier this week was followed by an 11% recovery and now a 3% decline on the day. If it wasn't for Bitcoin, I'm sure this would raise a few more eyebrows. As it is, it's just another day in the crazy world we're living in. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Market-based inflation on the rise and rising global yields analysis. http ntvforex.com. News ID 989,187 8/14/2020 11:17:48 am. The COVID-19 spreading seems to have finally peaked in hotspots such as the US, but, at the same time, we observe local regional outbreaks. In many European countries, such as Germany, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, the UK, and Denmark, the number of new cases has moved slightly higher, although we believe it is too early to call these second waves. At the same time, New Zealand recorded its first new COVID-19 case in more than 100 days this week. In other words, we have begun the dancing part of the hammer and dance strategy, which will probably continue until a vaccine is ready. We do not expect the global economy to return to a lockdown similar to that seen in March-April, but to narrow in on specific sectors and regions that may be hit, notably tourism. The general risk on sentiment in markets prevailing in recent weeks continued this week, and we do not see an obvious case for this to change in the very near term. In bond markets, we saw a decent rise in European yields, which notably sent 10Y bonds 10 BP higher and are now approaching the upper end of the range since early July. The drivers are the US, which has risen some 15 BP this year, and lower ECB purchases. We do not expect the rise in yields will be more persistent, as it is more related to flow dynamics given the solid increase in issuance of US Treasuries in Q3, as well as a more modest pace of ECB buying at the start of August. At the same time, the higher-than-expected U.S. inflation print this week supports the general rise in inflation, leaving real rates not far from record low levels. On Friday next week, we are set to get the PMI data, which we expect to show a continued gradual uptrend in August, although at a slightly slower pace to reflect the catch-up in activity of previous prints. The ZEW last week and our high-frequency monitor have turned positive again. See more high-frequency activity tracker Europe nearing normality, August 12, 2020. ECB minutes are due to be published on Thursday, albeit we expect they will probably not attract much attention. We are also due to get Euro area consumer confidence, which will be particularly interesting as the uptrend stalled in July. The August number will indicate if that was just a blip or whether European consumers are turning more cautious in their spending patterns and increasing precautionary savings, not least with the lingering unemployment risks. If it is the latter, it could still jeopardize a strong recovery in private consumption in H2 20. This weekend, the focus at least momentarily turns to the US-China trade war. Tomorrow, Saturday, August 15, senior US and Chinese officials will review the implementation of their Phase 1 trade deal and discuss other issues or areas of conflict between the two countries. Last week, US President Trump's economic advisor Larry Kudlow said that the trade deal is fine and China is substantially increasing purchases of American goods. However, given the tense relations between the two countries and approaching US elections, we do not preclude negative headlines emerging from the meeting. NBSP download the full weekly focus. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, Text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Consolidation featured ahead of the weekend analysis. http ntvforex.com news ID 04EAF78142020 11:14:51 AM overview. The equity rally is stalling ahead of the weekend. NBSP. Most markets in the Asia-Pacific region eased, though China and Australia advanced. NBSP Japanese shares were mixed. The Nikkei, though, advanced for the fourth consecutive session, while the Topis slipped. NBSP European stocks are off more, and once again, the 200-day moving averaging is capping the Dow Jones Stoxx 600. NBSP its 1.6% loss through the European morning, leaves the benchmark up about 0.8% for the week. NBSP US shares are trading lower, and the S&P 500's 0.6% gain for the week coming into today may be at risk. After the Treasury's sloppy reception of the 30-year bond sale yesterday, the benchmark 10-year yield is pulling back after poking through 70 BP. NBSP. The rise in US yields seemed to drag Asia-Pacific yields higher. NBSP in Europe, yields are a little firmer today. The dollar is mixed. The Scandies are leading the weaker currencies as this week's are paired. Sterling and the yen are posting small gains, while the euro is straddling unchanged levels. Emerging market currencies are mostly lower, and the Turkish lira remains under pressure. The JP Morgan Emerging Market Currency Index is snapping a 3-day advance. Gold has stabilized and is trading in a $12 range on either side of $1,950, but its 9-week advance has ended. Oil remains firm but within well-worn ranges. The September WTI contract is higher for the second week, but the price action remains largely confined to a $41-$43 range. NBSP Asia Pacific. China's July data missed expectations, suggesting the recovery may be stalling. NBSP industrial production rose 4.8% year-over-year. NBSP. This is the same pace as June, and economists had forecast an advance. NBSP. The more troubling miss was retail sales. NBSP economists had projected a small gain. Instead, retail sales fell 1.1% year-over-year after a 1.8% loss in June. NBSP consumption continues to lag behind output, it would seem. NBSP. The improvement of fixed asset investment also suggests progress on the supply side, while demand struggles. NBSP. This proxy for capex fell 1.6% year-over-year, about half of June's 3.1% decline. NBSP Governor Lowe of the Reserve Bank of Australia acknowledged that although he would prefer a weaker currency, he is not prepared to intervene and recognises that the Australian dollar is not overvalued. NBSP. While refusing to rule out negative policy rates, Lowe continued to suggest it was unlikely. NBSP. Meanwhile, fresh outbreaks of the virus and beyond Auckland warns that New Zealand is likely to decide next week to postpone the September national election. NBSP. The Prime Minister's Labour Party government is running well ahead in the polls. NBSP. Japan's June tertiary index rose more than expected. NBSP. The 7.9% increase was above the median forecast in the Bloomberg survey for a 6.4% gain. The May figure was revised down to a 2.9% decline instead of 2.1%. NBSP. Japan is one of the last major countries to report Q2 GDP. NBSP. It will do so at the start of next week. NBSP. It is expected to report a 7.5% quarter-over-quarter contraction. NBSP. For the third consecutive session, the dollar met sellers as it poked above 107 Japanese yen. Initial support now is seen near 106 Japanese yen and 45 sen and then 106 Japanese yen. NBSP. The greenback's 5-day rally is at risk today. NBSP. The Australian dollar has been unable to resurface above $0.7200 as its recent gains are consolidated. NBSP. Although support near $0.7130 is holding, the risk may still be on the downside. NBSP there is a $712 MLN option at $0.7100 that expires today. NBSP the dollar edged higher against the Chinese yuan for the second day after the PBOC set the reference rate at 6.9405 Chinese yuan, a little softer than the bank models implied. Despite the dollar's gains today, it is finishing lower for the sixth week in the past 7. NBSP Europe press stories highlight how an increasing part of Russia-China trade was being settled in euros. NBSP on the one hand, this illustrates the success in seeking alternatives to the US dollar. NBSP the use of the euro has preceded the EU Recovery Fund, and joint bonds that many have argued will enhance the euro's international role. NBSP however, it also shows that Russia and China's first alternative, using their own currencies, has largely gone nowhere. NBSP Germany has reported the most new cases of the virus since early May, and France's head of its health agency warned that the situation is deteriorating there. NBSP the UK said it will require travellers from France and the Netherlands, as well as 4 other countries to quarantine. Travel and related stocks were sold. NBSP the normalization of Israel and UAE ties surprised observers. NBSP although it has been generally embraced, Palestinians, Iranians, and Turkish officials have been critical. NBSP UAE joins Egypt and Jordan, normalizing relations with Israel. NBSP further annexation of the West Bank was halted, but the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said it was temporary. NBSP Israel's equity market is closed today. NBSP the dollar continues to hover around ILS 3.40 ILS 3.42 as it has for the last couple of weeks. NBSP the euro peaked near $1.1865 yesterday before falling below $1.18 in late dealings. NBSP it is struggling today and has been in a range of about 20 ticks or so around $1.1800. NBSP there are a number of expiring options that are nearby. NBSP the most important one is for almost 990 MLN euros at $1.18. NBSP there is another for 1.1 BLN euros at $1.1825 and 1.1 BLN euros at $1.1750. NBSP just below $1.1790, the euro is essentially flat on the week. NBSP sterling is trading sideways. NBSP it has mostly traded with a $1.30 handle this week. NBSP it settled last week near $1.3050. NBSP America the first 2 legs of the US quarterly refunding went off without a hitch, but yesterday's 30-year sale was messy. NBSP the difference between how it was trading in the when-issued market and the final sale was about 2 BP, which was most since March. NBSP the bid cover was also the least of the year. NBSP primary dealers had to take almost 20% of the $38 BLN that were sold, higher than usual. NBSP while some observers explained the sloppy auction on the stronger than expected reads this week on PPI and CPI and the deluge of supply. While it is possible, it also seems that the participation may have been curbed by the anticipation of next week's 20-year bond sale. NBSP there has been concern among some participants that the new long-end issue would sap the demand for the 30-year, which typically does not draw the same kind of interest as the shorter-term maturities. NBSP there is good reason to believe that China is woefully behind in meeting its trade obligations under the Phase 1 trade agreement. NBSP it is supposed to be officially reviewed here in the middle of August, but no date has been set. NBSP we argued that if the US were to acknowledge that the emperor was not wearing clothes, it would be compelled to act. NBSP it does not appear ready to do so. NBSP therefore, economic advisor Kudlow's remarks that Lighthizer was satisfied with China's commitment to the trade deal is not surprising and kicks the can down the road, so it does not have to acknowledge what nearly everyone seems to recognize. NBSP the US reports July retail sales and industrial production figures today. NBSP both are expected to be firm but moderate considerably from June's pace. NBSP headline retail sales may slow to around 2% from 7.5%, and the components used for GDP calculations may slow to less than 1% from the 5.6% jump in June. NBSP industrial output may have risen a solid 3% in July after a 5.4% gain previously. NBSP manufacturing is also expected to slow to 3% from 7.2% in June, but after the dramatic miss on returning workers in the employment report, the risk is on the downside. NBSP Canada reports existing home sales. NBSP Canada's housing and auto production appear to be leading the recovery. NBSP any rise after the 63% surge in June is impressive, and economists expect another 20% gain in July. NBSP Mexico's central bank delivered the widely expected 50 BP cut yesterday. NBSP the market seems divided on whether there is scope for another cut this year. NBSP we think it is, though, it may not be until Q4 by which time price pressures may ease. NBSP currently, Mexican inflation is just above the 3% midpoint of its inflation target range. NBSP the greenback briefly dipped below $1.32 yesterday for the first time since February but is holding above there today. NBSP there is a $580 MLN option at $1.32 that expires today and another for $1.50 BLN at 1.3250 Canadian dollars. NBSP the US dollar fell each session this week coming into today. NBSP it settled last week near 1.3380 Canadian dollars. NBSP the US dollar has recorded lower highs against the Mexican peso so far this week. NBSP it made a new low for the month today near 22 Mexican pesos and 12 centavos, but the bounced back to 22 Mexican pesos and 22 centavos. NBSP initial resistance is seen in the 22 Mexican pesos and 30 centavos area. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. US dollar index price analysis. Extra downside remains in the pipeline at ntvforex.com. News ID 0CA5785 minutes ago by Pablo Piavano. DXY briefly tested the sub 93.00 area on Thursday. Further south emerges the YTD lows in the mid 92.00s. DXY managed to rebound from the area below the 93.00 yardstick on Thursday, or fresh weekly lows. The bullish attempt, however, lost traction in the 93.4045 band. Solid resistance is located in the 94.00 region so far, and the inability of the index to surpass this area ideally in the short term should open the door to the resumption of the bearish trend. The offered stance in the dollar is expected to remain unchanged while below the 200-day SMA, today at 97.80. DXY daily chart. Dollar index spot overview. Today last price 93.25. Today daily change 25. Today daily change percent 0.00. Today daily open 93.25. NBSP trends. Daily SMA 2093.9. Daily SMA 5095.7. Daily SMA 10097.6. Daily SMA 20097.84. NBSP levels. Previous daily high 93.43. Previous daily low 92.92. Previous weekly high 94. Previous weekly low 92.5. Previous monthly high 97.64. Previous monthly low 92.55. Daily Fibonacci 38.2%. 93.12. Daily Fibonacci 61.8%. 93.24. Daily pivot point S1 92.97. Daily pivot point S2 92.69. Daily pivot point S3 92.46. Daily pivot point R1 93.48. Daily pivot point R2 93.71. Daily pivot point R3 93.98. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. EUR/USD price analysis interim hurdle emerges around 1.1870 http ntvforex.com news ID C27A544 minutes ago by Pablo Piavano. EUR/USD met a moderate hurdle in the 1.1870 area, weekly tops. The continuation of the trend should see the 2020 high retested. EUR/USD failed to extend the weekly recovery further north of the 1.1870 area on Thursday, triggering some selling bias to Friday's lows around 1.1780. That said, bulls are expected to surpass the 1.1870 area in order to get another opportunity to visit the 1.19 neighborhood ahead of 2020 peaks near January 1920. Looking at the broader picture, while above the critical 200-day SMA, today at 1.1120, the positive stance in EUR/USD should remain unaltered. EUR/USD daily chart. EUR/USD overview. Today last price 1.1813. Today daily change 45. Today daily change percent 0.00. Today daily open 1.1813. NBSP trends daily SMA 20 1.1714. Daily SMA 50 1.1457. Daily SMA 100 1.1191. Daily SMA 200 1.112. NBSP levels. Previous daily high 1.1864. Previous daily low 1.178. Previous weekly high January 1916. Previous weekly low 1.1696. Previous monthly high January 1909. Previous monthly low 1.1185. Daily Fibonacci 38.2%. 1.1832. Daily Fibonacci 61.8%. 1.1812. Daily pivot point S1 1.1774. Daily pivot point S2 1.1735. Daily pivot point S3 1.169. Daily pivot point R1 1.1858. Daily pivot point R2 January 1903. Daily pivot point R3 January 1942. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. A cautious outlook across major markets, but China data hints at risk aversion. Video analysis. http ntvforex.com news ID E5AA46814 2020 11:35:29 am. Market overview. There has been a degree of uncertainty that has taken over markets as this week has developed. The change factor seems to have been a recovery on Treasury yields, which has in turn stabilized the dollar. Yields have picked up as a run of data out of the US has come in ahead of expectations. Starting with a surprisingly positive non-farm payrolls report, inflation for both consumer and producers has been positive. There is a sense that the previous move into treasuries and out of the dollar has been overdone. Coupled with a huge supply of treasury issuance on the market this week, yields have pulled strongly higher. 10-year yield up 20 basis points in just over a week. This stabilizing of the dollar is also generating an uncertain outlook on Wall Street, and holding patterns across major Forex. The huge corrective profit taking on gold looks to be a little more stable, even if the market is lower today. After wild volatility and a 10% correction on gold, the dust is still settling. However, the question of whether this is the end of the correction is still likely to be determined on the composition of any U.S. fiscal support program if one can be agreed. Risk appetite has also not been helped overnight by the announcement of Chinese data where industrial production and retail sales both missed expectation, suggesting the recovery is not going to be smooth in China either. This is something that could play into the near-term dollar bounce back. Wall Street closed marginally lower with the S&P 500 0.2% at 3,373 and still off its all-time highs. Despite this, the U.S. futures are unwinding these losses early today with the E-mini S&Ps bouncing 0.3%. Asian markets have been mildly positive overnight, with Nikkei 0.2% and Shanghai Composite 1.0%. European indices are though looking a touch cautious, with FTSE futures and DAX futures marginally lower. In Forex, there is a shade of risk aversion creeping in, with the slightest USD gain. It is interesting to see AUD performing well again, whilst NZD continues to struggle. In commodities, gold is back lower by 0.5% but silver sharply down again 4%. Oil is once more mixed. Friday is a day packed with data on the economic calendar. Eurozone flash GDP for Q2 at 1000 BST is the second reading of Eurozone growth and is expected to be unrevised from the preliminary flash reading of 12.1% after a Q1 decline of 3.8%. Into the US session, the Tier 1 data comes thick and fast. First up at 1330 BST, the US retail sales, which are expected to show ex-auto sales being 1.3% in the month of July after a 7.3% bounce in June. US industrial production for July is at 1415 BST and is expected to grow by 3.0% on the month after 5.4% growth in June. Capacity utilization is expected to improve to 70.3% from 68.6% in June. Finally, the Michigan sentiment at 1500 BST is expected to decline slightly to 72.0 in August from 72.5 in July. This is expected to be driven primarily by a deterioration in the current conditions component to 81.8 from 82.8, whilst the expectations component is expected to improve slightly to 66.7 from 65.9 in July. NBSP chart of the day: AAUD JPY. With the increase in bond yields hitting the yen and risk appetite remaining broadly positive, Aussie yen has regained some upside momentum this week. However, as this market seems to still be fairly uncertain right now, we see a slight pullback in the past couple of sessions. Despite this, the trends remain positive and the bulls will be eyeing the next opportunity to buy into the weakness to test key resistance 76.85 for a move to the highest level since May 2019. The resistance of the June-July highs at 76.75-76.85 are under pressure after a series of higher lows throughout the past couple of months. A closing breakout would be the next step forward for the recovery. Strong momentum configuration is seen through RSI and stochastics indicators suggesting weakness is a chance to buy, although there is a slight caveat with a lack of traction in the MACD lines. There has been a consistent use of the NBSP rising 21-day moving today at 75.78 as a basis of support for the past 6 weeks. The hourly chart shows initial support around 75.85-76.25. Breaching 75.65 as an initial higher low would be disappointing now, whilst below 74.80 would mean the bulls lose control. We look to buy the weakness for a breakout above 76.85, which opens 77.50-78.85 as the next resistance band. NBSP Brent crude oil: considering the bulls have struggled for weeks to close the big bear gap at $45.20, and doing so has come with no change in sentiment on oil. A continued inability to get any sustainable traction to the upside means that the shackles remain very much on for the bulls. There is still a pull higher, where a series of higher lows remains intact and the market eventually pushed through resistance. However, it remains a painstaking rally of fits and starts but no conviction. In the past couple of weeks the resistance has formed at $45.80, $46.25, and we still prefer a positive bias towards testing this. Buying into the weakness is still also a preferred strategy, with $44.25 being initial support in the past week. Holding above $41.30 maintains the recovery outlook. Above $46.25 opens $53.10, $53.80 as the next resistance, but do not expect it to get there very fast. NBSP Dow Jones Industrial Average: in recent sessions, the bull run on the Dow is just beginning to show a few signs of fatigue. The market may have only closed 0.3% lower last night, but another marginally negative candlestick also breached the previous day low for the first time in 10 sessions. It was also a second session in a row of a lower daily high too. At this stage, these are only minor signals, but makes for a more cautious market. It comes with the RSI hitting around 70 this week, potentially stretched, and stochastics beginning to tail off. The bulls now need to defend the band of near-term breakout support 27,580-27,625. A closing breach of 27,580 could see the market dragged back towards 27,070. We would still view any near-term correction as a chance for the next medium-term buying opportunity. However, the upside potential for this bull leg is questionable now. Resistance at 28,045 and 28,155 is now increasingly important. NBSP read more analysis here. Euro USD, GBP USD, USD JPY, Gold. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Gold price news and forecast. XAU USD bull market still technically fundamentally in place. Video http ntvforex.com. News ID 16070b 2 minutes ago by NTV Forex team. Gold bulls are starting to get going again. Video for a while now, we have been looking to use a near-term correction on gold to be a medium-term buying opportunity. After the 10% correction in the past week, the move appears to be settling down now. Subsequently, we believe that this run higher is likely to be getting back on track once more. The technicals are stabilizing, with RSI around 50 and stochastics also beginning to tick higher, although the MACD lines, which are more of a medium-term indicator, are still in retreat. The main caveat for us comes not from technicals, but of how the market would respond to a US fiscal support package. This is likely to cause some near-term volatility again if when announced. Read more. NBSP gold bull market still technically fundamentally in place. At the start of the week, a number of clients had it pointed out to them that gold's recent highs could be starting to look vulnerable. It is important to realize that markets don't tend to move in straight lines. What goes up quickly can also come down quickly. This turned out to be the case with gold. Earlier this week, gold saw its largest daily drop in 7 years. The large falls in gold had some traders panicking. You may be one of them. Read more. NBSP gold continues to be a strong winner from the pandemic. European markets turned south on Friday, led by a decline in travel and leisure stocks after the UK added France to its 14-day quarantine list. Yesterday, US stocks dipped after a run at the all-time highs failed again. The S&P 500 finished the day down 0.2%. But the Nasdaq eked out a small gain. Asian markets ticked up amid a mixed bag of data and economic indicators, and European stocks slipped in early trade after falling across the board on Thursday. After a decent start to the week, it looks like equity markets are finishing off rather meekly. NBSP, with France being added to the quarantine list for the UK, travel and leisure is under pressure. NBSP shares in IAG, Ryanair, TUI, and EasyJet were all sharply lower, as the move will force a large swathe of cancellations right at the peak of the summer holiday season for one of the largest markets for UK tourists. 500,000 Brits are thought to be in France right now. Related stocks were also hit. Read more. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. USD CHF pairs early gains, trades flat near 0.9100. http ntvforex.com. News ID FA2E235 minutes ago by Aaron Sengezer. USD CHF trades in a tight range above 0.9100 on Friday. Risk aversion helps CHF stay strong against its rivals. US dollar index consolidates above 93.00 ahead of US data. The USD-CHF pair rose to a daily high of 0.9125 on Friday but struggled to preserve its bullish momentum. As of writing, the pair was virtually unchanged on a daily basis at 0.9100. Focus shifts to US data. The risk-averse market environment seems to be helping the CHF stay resilient against its rivals as a safe haven. Earlier in the day, the data published by the Eurostat showed that the euro area economy contracted by 15% on a yearly basis in the second quarter. Reflecting the flight to safety, major European equity indexes are losing between 1.3% and 1.65% on a daily basis. Meanwhile, the US dollar index is staying relatively quiet above 93.00 as investors seem to be staying on the sidelines ahead of key macroeconomic data releases from the US. In the early American session, the US Census Bureau will release July retail sales data. Investors expect the report to show an increase of 1.9% following June's impressive upsurge of 7.5%. NBSP previewing this data and its potential impact on the greenback. The sell-off in the US dollar over the past month was predicated on the second wave COVID-19 impact on the economy, said NTV Forex analyst Joseph Trevisani. If retail sales do not in fact drop as anticipated, the currency will have another data point for a stronger USD. Other data from the US will include industrial production and the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Survey. Technical levels to watch for USD CHF overview today. Last price 0.9102 today, daily change 0.0004 today, daily change percent 0.04 today, daily open 0.9098 NBSP trends daily SMA 20 0.9187 daily SMA 50 0.9357 daily SMA 100 0.952 daily SMA 200 0.9637 NBSP levels. Previous daily high 0.9123, previous daily low 0.9082, previous weekly high 0.9242, previous weekly low 0.9051, previous monthly high 0.9494, previous monthly low 0.9056, daily Fibonacci 38.2% 0.9098, daily Fibonacci 61.8% 0.9107, daily pivot point S1 0.9079. Daily pivot point S2 0.906, daily pivot point S3 0.9039, daily pivot point R1 0.9119, daily pivot point R2 0.9141, daily pivot point R3 0.916. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. When are US monthly retail sales figures and how could they affect your USD? http ntvforex.com news ID EE47E4 6 minutes ago by Haresh Menghani. US monthly retail sales overview. Friday's US economic docket highlights the release of monthly retail sales figures for July, scheduled at 12:30 GMT. The headline sales are anticipated to have increased by 1.9% during the reported month as against the 18.2% and 7.5% gains recorded in May and June, respectively. Meanwhile, sales excluding autos are projected to climb 1.3% in July following the rise of 7.3% in June and 12.1% in May. The closely watched retail sales control group are forecast to climb 0.8% in July after June's 5.6% and Maya's 10.1% increases. How could it affect your USD? Stronger than expected figures will further fuel hopes of the US economic recovery and might be enough to provide a modest lift to the US dollar. That said, the market reaction is more likely to be muted amid uncertainty over the next round of the US fiscal stimulus measures. Investors might also be reluctant to place any aggressive directional bets ahead of a crucial weekend meeting between the US and Chinese trade officials. Meanwhile, Yohai Elam, NTV Forex's own analyst, provided some important technical levels to trade the Euro-USD pair. A resistance awaits at around 1.1865, which was the peak on Thursday. It is followed by the two-year high of January 1915. The next target is 1.20. Immediate support is at the daily low of 1.18, converging with the 50 SMA. It is followed by 1.1750, a support line from last week, and then by 1.17, a double bottom. A keynotes NBSP US retail sales July preview. Expectations of moderation may be overstated. NBSP EUR USD forecast down but not out, bulls well positioned to rally on retail sales. NBSP EUR USD rally overextended, dollar still the king. A Rabobank about US retail sales. The retail sales released by the US Census Bureau measures the total receipts of retail stores. Monthly percent changes reflect the rate of changes in such sales. Changes in retail sales are widely followed as an indicator of consumer spending. Generally speaking, a high reading is seen as positive or bullish for the USD, while a low reading is seen as negative or bearish. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. 5 Post-COVID Trends and Gold Analysis. http ntvforex.com. News ID 2813D814-2020 11:43 4 am. The disruptions caused by the pandemic of COVID-19 forced people, companies, governments, and organizations to challenge their basis assumptions about their ways of life and conduct. Some of them might be trivial, such as more frequent and thorough hand washing, but others are much more important, amongst them putting more emphasis on health that came suddenly under threat and social relationships that were so missing during the quarantine. So, the key question is, when the epidemic is fully contained, what will be the new normal and how it will affect the gold market? The first characteristic feature of the post-pandemic world will be more people working and getting things done from home. The digital transformation has already started before the coronavirus jumped on human beings, but the COVID-19 epidemic has accelerated its pace, with further expansion in video conferencing, online teaching, e-commerce, telemedicine, and fintech. After all these long years, it turned out that all these boring meetings really could have been emails or chats via Zoom, Skype or Teams. What does it mean for the economy and society? Well, working from home implies more flexibility and less commuting for the employees. So, they can work from any location and spend more time with their families. Improved work-life balance translates into happier workers, which can make them more productive. And the most important thing, people can work in sweatpants or pajamas all day. Hooray! There are also benefits for the companies. Just think about all the cost savings from less space needed and less business travels. Hence, although working from home has also some negatives, possible miscommunication, loneliness, and difficulties with unplugging after work, decreased knowledge flows and managerial oversight, it should increase productivity in the long run, especially if not overdone. Improved productivity thanks to telework is positive for the corporate margins and equities, but it is bad news for the gold prices. Second important trend is deglobalization. The pandemic showed that just-in-time supply chains relying on foreign suppliers are not resilient in times of global crises and border closures. So, many Western companies will reshore some of their production, or reallocate it closer to their major markets in ways that favor national and regional supply chains. The growth of nationalism will counteract the first change and hamper the productivity growth, which is positive for the yellow metal. However, making the supply chains and manufacturing more resilient diminishes the long-run threats to the economies and the risk of economic collapse, which could reduce the safe haven demand for gold. Third, the pandemic will affect the geopolitics. For example, it can aggravate the fragile trade relations between China and the United States. Moreover, the epidemic and the following economic crisis make more and more people question the liberal internationalism and America's leadership role. On the contrary, China's geopolitical role could increase in the aftermath of the pandemic. The rising geopolitical tensions and protectionism, as well as diminished confidence in the U.S. global leadership and the greenback, could increase the appeal of gold. Fourth, could be a shift toward lower population density and less crowded places. It may lead to a complete rethinking or redesigning of living in big cities, or a move from metropolises to smaller cities, towns, or even to the villages. After all, when people need only Wi-Fi to work or educate, they don't have to live in big cities anymore. The consequences are not clear, but it's possible that the real estate prices in the biggest cities could correct somewhat, as people and companies could cut costs and move away from high-priced, centrally located areas. However, there might be higher demand for larger houses with offices for telework. If we really see such a correction, the repercussions may be significant, also for the gold market, as the burst of the 2000 SA housing bubble demonstrated. As the chart below shows, the S&P Case-Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index is now much higher than in 2007, before the global financial crisis started. Last but not least, the role of governments will increase in the post-pandemic world after generously supporting companies and households during the crisis. Compared to the Great Recession, when both the Fed and the Treasury acted more gradually and with some fear of public anger, their recent actions were unprecedentedly swift and aggressive. Hence, the public debt will balloon all around the world, creating significant challenges, increasing the risk of sovereign debt crisis and putting more downward pressure on the central banks to maintain the dovish monetary policy with ultra-low interest rates. This important macroeconomic trend should be positive for gold. NBSP want free follow-ups to the above article and details not available to 99% investors. Sign up to our free newsletter today. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. USD Tri current account data suggest Lira is an outlier. A capital economist NTVForex.com news ID 601396 3 minutes ago by NTV Forex team. A fundamental force behind the growing pressure on the Turkish lira is the economy's widening current account deficit. But in most cases, the COVID-19 crisis appears to be causing current account deficits to narrow, which is one factor that should limit the downside risks to M currencies in the coming months. USD Tri, which trades near the 7.38 zone, will trade at 7.50 by year-end, according to economists at Capital Economics. Key quotes: The widening of Turkey's current account deficit this year helps to explain the growing pressure on the lira. While the deficit should narrow in the coming months as tourism revenues slowly return, the bigger picture is that the deficit will remain uncomfortably large. And combined with Turkey's large short-term external debts, this will keep the pressure on the lira. We expect USD Tri to trade at 7.50 by year-end, but if tensions with the EU and/or broader concerns about policymaking in Turkey escalate, the risk of much larger and sharper declines would grow. Most M current account deficits have narrowed this year. And external shortfalls are likely to remain smaller than pre-crisis levels even as economies return to full employment. Indeed, despite rebounding since March's lows, currencies of traditional current account deficit countries like Brazil, Mexico, and South Africa are still down by 15–25% year-to-date. All this limits the risk of further large currency falls. Although further appreciation from here may be limited. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Friday pullback. Biggest Bitcoin mining pool sends 800 BTC to Binance at ntvforex.com news ID B2E5241 1 minutes ago. CryptoQuant warns that a sell-off from pull-in may accentuate downward Bitcoin price pressure in the short term. Bitcoin BTC may have recovered to $11,700, but miners could soon spark a price plunge, data warns. In an update on August 14, on-chain monitoring resource CryptoQuant identified a spike in mining pool outflows. NBSP BTC price. CryptoQuant expects a little pullback after remaining stable this month. Mining pool outflows have begun to grow, with 802 BTC in aggregated flows recorded by CryptoQuant on Friday. Describing the event as unusual in an automated alert, CryptoQuant noted that if the Bitcoin leaving pools were being sent to an exchange, selling pressure could quickly mount, pushing down price. Alternatively, an over-the-counter transaction popular in China, a country home to many major mining pools, would avoid negative price repercussions. In the event, 800 BTC from Pullin responsible for the lion's share of newly mined BTC over the past several days ended up at Binance. NBSP I expect a little pullback. CryptoQuant CEO Ki Young-ju commented on Twitter. NBSP in comments to Cointelegraph, Ki equated the shipment of BTC to roughly 1 week's activity for Pullin. They mined 147 blocks this week, and the average BTC for block reward is 6.25. So it's like what they mined per week, he summarized. Pullin mining pool outflows 1 week chart. Source CryptoQuant Twitter NBSP miner revenue cancel out having impact. Minersaw financial health has staged a comeback in recent weeks, with revenue returning to pre-halving levels in April. NBSP the halving itself cut supply dramatically, fueling anticipation of major institutional buy-ins boosting price performance further this month. Bitcoin 7-day average miner revenues 6-month chart. Source blockchain previously, a basket of factors had persuaded Cointelegraph markets analysts to double down on bullish sentiment. NBSP on Thursday, Philb highlighted technical and macro signals pointing upwards, including a rebound for a highly correlate to gold and silver. We are still in an uptrend, so I should lean on the side of bullish, he told Telegram subscribers. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. 2020 elections. Kamala Harris set to damage Donald Trump's chances in 5 ways. Analysis http ntvforex.com. News ID 583B4814 2020 11:51:15 a.m. Senator Kamala Harris may have an outsized impact for a vice president nominee. President Donald Trump's sensitivities may trigger responses that could backfire. NBSP California-based Harris could have an especially significant role in tipping Florida toward Democrats. NBSP The first rule of vice presidential picks is do no harm to one's own party, but Senator Kamala Harris has the potential to inflict outsized damage on the other side's candidate, President Donald Trump. NBSP A re-election campaign is first and foremost a referendum on the incumbent. The newly minted VP candidate has the ability to push White House occupants' buttons and also to appeal to swing voters. NBSP Here are 5 reasons how Harris can hurt Trump's re-election. 1. Misogynistic Trump. The president's first response to Harris' pick was that she is nasty and tweeting that the suburban housewife will be voting for me. NBSP Women with opinions and ambitions like the senator from California or his 2016 rival Hillary Clinton receive a bad characterization, while those who stay at home rather than pursue a career are described as good ones. NBSP Trump is trailing among females and will need their support to win. While Democrats have been having an advantage among women for many years, the president widened that gap with his demeaning approach toward females. Examples include bragging about sexually assaulting women in that infamous Access Hollywood tape, say about Fox News journalist NBSP Megyn Kelly blood coming out of her wherever, and many more. Having Harris by Biden's side may bring more women to vote against the president or refrain from voting for him. 2. Racist Trump. Harris's appointment is historic. She is the first Black and Asian woman to be on a presidential ticket. Her nomination was also seen as a nod to African Americans, potentially helping increase turnout. However, the senator was not so successful among blacks in her short-lived primary race. The African American community preferred Biden due to serving under Barack Obama, the first black president, thanks to his higher electoral chance or other reasons. NBSP Harris' skin color could increase black turnout via triggering racist comments from Trump. He already opened the door to suggest that the senator is not eligible to run as her parents were born abroad, a theory which is wrong and resembles the birtherism movement that tried to delegitimize Obama. NBSP. The president called NBSP Omarosa Manigault Newman that dog and crazed, crying lowlife after firing her from a post at the White House. NBSP Manigault Newman, a black woman, was a former contestant in Trump's show. NBSP. Trump's racism is consistent, dating back to 1973 when he was sued alongside his father for discriminating against prospective black tenants. Other examples include responding to a march of Nazis in Charlottesville and saying that were good people among them. He previously said that some Mexicans are good people as well, but that Mexico sends rapists. NBSP. Any additional racist comments by Trump could help turn out more voters against him. 3. Appealing to moderates. Harris is considered a moderate as her state's attorney general and San Francisco's district attorney. She was considered tough on crime, prompting criticism within the left. That will make accusations that she and Biden are captives of radicals harder to stick. The Trump campaign already failed in attacking Biden's mental health. A Fox News poll from late July showed the public sees the Democratic nominee as more sound than the president. NBSP. Moreover, the California senator also adopted a calm approach to dealing with the growing strength of tech companies, a market-friendly approach that will make it easier for soft Republicans to back the ticket. NBSP. 4. Prosecutor Harris brought her legal background to the Senate, using it to prosecute witnesses. Trump lamented the approach to now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. In her first speech alongside Biden, Harris laid down the case against Trump, focusing on his deadly mishandling of the coronavirus crisis. NBSP. She will likely continue publishing well-articulated critique of the president's failings, garnering support and, as mentioned earlier, triggering angry responses. NBSP. Moreover, the Harris-Trump clashes will allow Biden to remain above the fray, seeming more presidential than his rival. The challenger already leads the incumbent on compassion in that same Fox News poll. NBSP. Unsurprisingly, given Trump's self-centered approach to COVID-19, that would increase the gap. NBSP. 3. Tipping Florida. The Sunshine State, which awards 29 electoral college votes, has had its share of close races in recent years. The most memorable one was that it voted for George W. Bush by 537 votes in 2000, awarding him the presidency despite losing the popular vote. NBSP. Florida has voted for the winner in recent elections and may do so again, perhaps thanks to Harris. The purple or toss-up states consist of many people whose parents were born outside the U.S. They may identify with Harris and vote for her or stay at home and refrain from voting for the Republican. Many Cuban Americans go with the GOP, an outlier among Hispanics, as it is seen as being tougher against the Cuban regime. It is no surprise that the White House announced the cancellation of flights to Havana days after Harris' nomination. NBSP. Nevertheless, the mix of the California senator's background and the deadly impact of COVID-19 on Florida may tip the state toward the winners again, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Conclusion. While the race focuses on the incumbent, only later on the challenger and leaving a distant third for the rest, Senator Harris' nomination could result in own goals from Trump. Moreover, she has room to appeal to voters that may shift more people toward the Democrats. NBSP. Biden has a significant lead. Financial markets seem to accept moderates Biden and Harris in the White House but would shiver if Dems win the Senate, where the race is much closer than for the presidency. NBSP. Harris' nomination has yet to move the dial for stocks, but that could happen if her interactions with Trump increase the chances that Democrats win a clean sweep, allowing leftist Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren to have their say in healthcare and banking respectively. NBSP. More NBSP. 2020 elections. Trump is losing his economic edge, for 3 robust reasons. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. China expands digital yuan trials to Beijing and neighboring province. NTVForex.com News ID 106543 3 minutes ago. While there is not yet a set time for the expanded pilot program to begin, a policy framework should be complete by the end of 2020. China's Commerce Ministry announced today that it will expand the trials of the nation's central bank digital currency CBDC to include Beijing, as well as Tianjin and Hebei provinces. According to an August 14 report by the Wall Street Journal, there is not yet a set time when the expanded pilot program of the Chinese CBDC will begin. Still, the national's Ministry of Commerce announced that the policy framework should be complete by the end of 2020. As Cointelegraph reported earlier this week, the expanded pilot will also include the Hong Kong Greater Bay Area, consisting of 9 cities including Guangzhou, Shenzhen, as well as Hong Kong, and Macau. A Chinese Ministry of Commerce representative said today that the trials will cover much of China's wealthiest regions. Poorer central and western regions that meet unspecified criteria will also join testing. The People's Bank of China will lead the pilot. China's CBDC is known domestically as a digital currency electronic payment DCEP and is by many expected to be the first operational national digital currency. In mid-April, the People's Bank of China tested DCEP as part of a transport subsidies scheme for government and enterprise workers in Suzhou, a major city in Jiangsu province. Earlier this month, Chinese state-run banks were also reported to be testing a digital wallet designed for DCEP on a large scale. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. U.S. Michigan Consumer Sentiment August Preview Rising Confidence to Change USD Outlook. NTVForex.com News ID 70B670 2 minutes ago by NTV Forex Team. Sentiment in July is expected to be stable near pandemic low, but upbeat initial unemployment claims and payrolls figures may boost confidence. Dollar remains offered close to 2-year lows. However, the market may change its view on the greenback if the consumer sentiment data avoid a drop in August. And Forex's analyst Joseph Trevisani briefs. Key quotes: A Michigan consumer sentiment is expected to fall to 72 in July from 72.5 in June and 78.1 in May. The pandemic low was in April at 71.8. However, better than forecast payrolls in July and a 32% drop in initial jobless claims in the 3 weeks to August 7 may have mitigated the damage to consumer attitudes brought on by the surge in viral diagnoses. Employment is the most important component of consumer confidence. The July drop in sentiment was, given the actual job and inflation numbers, quite possibly more a product of the fear of the second wave and the incessant and often misleading media coverage, than a measure of genuine economic impact. Now that the second wave seems to be receding in most states, a revival in consumer confidence appears a more than modest bet. The month-old sell-off in the US dollar has been prompted by the assumed negative impact of the second COVID-19 wave the American economy. If the total effect is a 2-week jump in initial claims and a 1-month drop in consumer sentiment, markets will shortly have to find a different scenario for the USDA. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. DAX tests important support video analysis. http ntvforex.com News ID 1585EA814202012:0300 PM. It will be fair to say that everybody is waiting for the new all-time highs on SP500. We are so close, almost there. Europeans don't want to help in making that happen though, as the price fell sharply at the beginning of the session on the old continent. I am not sure what plan they have, but one thing comes to mind: another test of 12,800 on DAX. 12,800 on DAX is absolutely a crucial long-term support, which holds the bullish dream alive. As long as we stay above, the buy signal is still on. So far, so good as today's test is successful till now for buyers, as we do have a bounce. We will see if that will hold till the end of the week. One thing can be a huge obstacle here, and this is a flag formation, where we had a bearish breakout, which in theory gave us a sell signal. In the end, it comes to the strength of both events. I think that price being above 12,800 is, as for now, more important and relevant. If we talk about strong horizontal supports, we need to mention European, which may be exotic for you but is extremely technical, so in consequences, enjoyable for trading. Here, the price is in the long-term horizontal support on April 4th. Exactly on this support, we have a small rectangle pattern, so the breakout should definitely show us the direction. Price going above 4.425 will be a buy signal, and price dropping below 439 will be a signal to sell. We have to mention gold, as the situation here is very interesting. XAU experienced a major reversal and then a correction. Correction is a pure wedge, and we already broke its lower line. Breakout of the lower line of this pattern gives us a proper sell signal, so in my opinion, we should see another leg down. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Pound sterling price news and forecast. GBP USD bulls struggle to find acceptance above 1.3100 marked. ntvforex.com news ID 0ED6184 4 minutes ago by NTV Forex team. GBP USD forecast bowling back in business, but sterling has reasons to stay stuck in a dark alley. Casins, theatres A and bowling alleys A are among the establishments that will be able to reopen from the weekend in England. That is another step toward returning to normal after the UK suffered the highest death toll in Europe, even after reducing the number of mortalities due to a methodology change. NBSP. The pound positive development is simultaneously marred by another COVID-19 related announcement. Britain will require all those coming from France, the Netherlands, and several other countries to quarantine. Read more. NBSP GBP USD analysis. Bulls struggle to find acceptance above 1.3100 mark. The GBP USD pair gained some strong positive traction on Thursday and recovered further from the key 1.3000 psychological mark, or over 1 week lows set in the previous session. The positive move was exclusively sponsored by the prevalent offered tone surrounding the US dollar, which remained depressed in the wake of the impasse over the next round of the US fiscal stimulus. The pair surged past the 1.3100 round figure mark, albeit struggled to capitalize on the move and ran out of the steam just ahead of the weekly tops. Data released from the US showed that initial weekly jobless claims dropped below 1 million for the first time since the start of the pandemic, offering signs of the US economic recovery. This, coupled with an intraday spike in the US Treasury bond yields, provided some respite to the USD. Adding to this, a cautious mood around the US equity markets drove some haven flows towards the greenback and prompted some selling at higher levels. Read more. NBSP GBP USD analysis tests 200-hour SMA. Yesterday, the GBP USD exchange rate retested the psychological level at 1.3120. During Friday morning, the rate was testing the 200-hour SMA near 1.3080. If the given moving average holds, it is likely that the currency pair could reverse south and retest the lower boundary of the medium-term ascending channel circa 1.3030. On the other hand, the pair could gain support from the 55A and 100-hour SMAs near 1.3060. Thus, it is likely that some upside potential could prevail in the market. Read more. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. GBP JPY climbs back closer to multi-month tops set on Thursday, just below 140.00 marked NTVForex.com news ID D850CE 5 minutes ago by Haresh Menghani GBP JPY rebounds over 50 pips from daily swing lows and moves back closer to daily tops. The latest optimism over Brexit talks underpinned the sterling and remained supportive. The anti-risk flow benefited the safe haven JPY and kept a lid on any meaningful upside. The GBP JPY cross quickly reversed an intraday dip to the 139.35 region and has now moved back closer to the top end of its daily trading range. The British pound remained well supported by improving sentiment on Brexit trade talks, which, in turn, was seen as one of the key factors behind the GBP JPY pair's goodish intraday bounce of over 50 pips. Britain's chief negotiator David Frost said on Thursday that a Brexit agreement can be reached in September. This comes ahead of the next round of talks about the future relationship, set to commence in Brussels on August 18, and suggested that the two sides remain committed to reaching a deal. However, a turnaround in the global risk sentiment, as depicted by a sharp fall in the equity markets, underpinned the Japanese yen's safe haven demand and kept a lid on any further gains for the GBP JPY cross. Even from a technical perspective, the cross has been struggling to move beyond an upward sloping channel. This makes it prudent to wait for a sustained move beyond the 140.00 psychological mark before positioning for any further near-term appreciating move. Meanwhile, the fact that the cross has managed to find acceptance above 100-week SMA supports prospects for additional gains. Nevertheless, the cross remains on track to end the week on a high note and register gains for the third week in the previous 4. Technical levels to watch GBP JPY overview today last price 139.72 today daily change 0.00 today daily change percent 0.00 today daily open 139.72 NBSP trends daily SMA 20 137.36 daily SMA 50 135.66 daily SMA 100 134.43 daily SMA 200 137.49 NBSP levels previous daily high 140.21 previous daily low 139.24 previous weekly high 139.24 previous weekly low 137.75 previous monthly high 139.21 previous monthly low 132.95 daily Fibonacci 38.2% 139.84 daily Fibonacci 61.8% 139.61 daily pivot point S1 139.24 daily pivot point S2 138.75 daily pivot point S3 138.27 daily pivot point R1 140.21 daily pivot point R2 140.7 daily pivot point R3 141.18 NBSP Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. 2020 U.S. elections Harris nomination to result in own goals from Trump NTVForex.com news ID 1C50B 04 minutes ago by NTV Forex team Senator Kamala Harris may have an outsized impact for a vice president nominee. A re-election campaign is first and foremost a referendum on the incumbent. The newly minted VP candidate has the ability to push White House occupants' buttons and also to appeal to swing voters. Yohai Elam, an analyst at NTV Forex, highlights 5 reasons how Harris can hurt Trump's re-election. Key quotes: A misogynistic Trump. The president's first response to Harris' pick was that she is a nasty and tweeting that the suburban housewife will be voting for Maya. Trump is trailing among females and will need their support to win. Having Harris by Biden's side may bring more women to vote against the president or refrain from voting for him. A racist Trump. Harris's appointment is historic. She is the first Black and Asian woman to be on a presidential ticket. Her nomination was also seen as a nod to African Americans, potentially helping increase turnout. Any additional racist comments by Trump could help turn out more voters against him. Appealing to moderates. Harris is considered a moderate as her state's Attorney General and San Francisco's District Attorney. She was considered tough on crime, prompting criticism within the left. That will make accusations that she and Biden are captives of radical SA harder to stick. Prosecutor Harris brought her legal background to the Senate, using it to prosecute witnesses. Trump lamented the approach to now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. In her first speech alongside Biden, Harris laid down the case against Trump, focusing on his deadly mishandling of the coronavirus crisis. She will likely continue publishing well-articulated critique of the president's failings, garnering support and, as mentioned earlier, triggering angry responses. Moreover, the Harris-Trump clashes will allow Biden to remain above the fray, seeming more presidential than his rival tipping Florida, the Sunshine State which awards 29 electoral college votes has had its share of close races in recent years. The per plea or TOS UPA states consist of many people whose parents were born outside the U.S. They may identify with Harris and vote for her or stay at home and refrain from voting for the Republican Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. FX Week Ahead Analysis http ntvforex.com News ID 7FC9 at 8/14/2020 12:26:23 p.m. Gold has finally pulled back from its recent run higher, recording its largest single-day drop in the last 7 years this week. US 10-year bond yields broke higher midweek, which preceded the large fall in both gold and silver prices. Investors will be keeping a careful eye on real interest rate levels going forward to try and see how far the gold bull run will ultimately go. The present move lower, although large, was still a pullback from within the existing medium-term bullish trend for gold. Goldman Sachs are projecting gold prices of $2,300 by year-end. NBSP key events from the past week. NZD/RBNZ cash rate, August 12. The RBNZ increased their quantitative easing LSAP program to $100 BN from $60 BLN and extended the length of the program to 20 months. The RBNZ were open to negative interest rates. This bearish outlook led to strong selling in the NZD out of the decision. ZAUSD gold pulls back aggressively, August 11. Gold fell more than $100 ounce in 24 hours this week as US 10Y bond yields broke out higher. A correction in gold was due and buyers came in at the $1,880 50% fib retracement level from June lows. Will gold retest recent highs or correct even lower next week? AUD employment data, August 13. Employment data is a key focus for the RBA. July's data showed an addition of 114.7k jobs and 43.5k of these were full-time. The unemployment rate also came in lower at 7.5% vs the 7.8% expected. However, positive, this data does not reflect the lockdown impact of Victoria State. NBSP key events for the coming week. USD FOMC minutes, August 19. The FOMC minutes will be carefully viewed for any evidence of the Fed wanting to use yield curve control. With inflation rising, investors will want to know how likely the Fed are to follow the Reserve Bank of Australia in keeping bond yields artificially low. Euroflash PMIs, August 21. The Eurozone PMIs have seen a positive recovery from the worst of COVID-19. Another strong reading here will continue that narrative as long as European COVID-19 cases don't rise too high. COVID-19 case count growing in Europe. This week saw a further increase in COVID-19 cases in mainland Europe. As we see a continued fall in US cases, yet a rise in European cases, this has the potential to weaken the Eurist. NBSP learn more about HYCM NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Breaking U.S. retail sales increase by 1.2% in July versus 1.9% expected. ntvforex.com News ID 43E5F9 7 minutes ago by NTV Forex team. Retail sales in the United States rose by 1.2% on a monthly basis in July NBSP to $536 billion, the data published by the U.S. Census Bureau revealed on Friday. This reading followed June's upsurge of 8.4% revised from 7.5% and fell short of the market expectation of 1.9%. Additional takeaways: total sales for the May 2020 through July 2020 period were down 0.2% from the same period a year ago. The May 2020 to June 2020 percent change was revised from up 7.5% to up 8.4%. Retail trade sales were up 0.8% from June 2020 and 5.8% NBSP above last year. Non-store retailers were up 24.7% from July 2019, while food and beverage stores were up 11.1% NBSP from last year. Market reaction: the US dollar index edged slightly lower after this data and was last seen losing 0.12% on a daily basis at 93.13. Meanwhile, S&P 500 futures turned positive on the day, suggesting that this report is having a positive impact on market sentiment. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Canada manufacturing sales surged by a record 20.7% in June. ntvforex.com News ID F0F5341 minutes ago by Aaron Seng-Ezer. Manufacturing sales in Canada increased more than expected in June. USD CAD edged lower after the data, but NBSP still trades in the positive territory. Manufacturing sales in Canada rose by a record pace of NBSP 20.7% on a monthly basis in June to $48.7 billion. This reading followed May's 11.6% increase and came in better than the market expectation of 16.4%. Many factories operated at a much higher capacity in June, with the capacity utilization rate not seasonally adjusted for the total manufacturing sector increasing 10.9 percentage points to 73.3%, Statistics Canada said. Still, the capacity utilization rate remained 8.0 percentage points below the June 2019 level, 81.3%. Market reaction: the USD CAD pair lost around 20 pips in a matter of minutes with the initial reaction to this data and was last seen trading at 1.3230, where it was still up 0.1% on the day. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. USD CAD eases from tops, up little around 1.323035 region post US retail sales. ntvforex.com News ID 420AEF 6 minutes ago by Haresh Menghani. USD CAD staged a modest recovery from multi-month lows set on Thursday. The USD struggled to preserve its early gains and kept a lid on any strong gains. Friday's mixed U.S. retail sales figures failed to provide any meaningful impetus. The USD CAD pair held on to its modest gains through the early North American session, albeit retreated around 15-20 pips from daily tops post-U.S. macro data. The pair to gain some positive traction on the last day of the week and stage a modest recovery from near 6-month lows, or sub 1.3200 levels set on Thursday. The uptick was supported by a mildly softer tone surrounding crude oil prices, which tend to undermine the commodity-linked loonie, and an intraday US dollar rebound. The USD, however, struggled to capitalize its early uptick, instead met with some fresh supply at higher levels amid the uncertainty over the next round of the US fiscal stimulus measures. The greenback was further pressured by a pullback in the U.S. Treasury bond yields, led by a turnaround in the global risk sentiment. Meanwhile, Friday's mixed release of the U.S. monthly retail sales report failed to impress the USD bulls or provide any meaningful impetus to the USD-CAD pair. Data published by the U.S. Census Bureau revealed that retail sales rose by 1.2% MOM in July, short of consensus estimates pointing to an increase of 1.9%. The weaker headline number, to a larger extent, was offset by an upward revision of the previous month's reading to 8.4% from 7.5% reported earlier. Adding to this, sales excluding autos also came in to show a better-than-expected growth of 1.9% during the reported month. The closely watched retail sales control group climbed 1.4% in July as against 0.8% anticipated. Friday's U.S. economic docket also highlights the release of the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index for August. The data, along with the broader market risk sentiment, might influence the USD price dynamics and produce some short-term trading opportunities. The key focus, however, will remain on a crucial weekend meeting between the U.S. and Chinese trade officials. Technical levels to watch: USD CAD overview today, last price 1.3237 today, daily change 0.0012 today, daily change percent 0.09 today, daily open 1.3225 NBSP trends, daily SMA 20 1.3375 daily SMA 50 1.3488 daily SMA 100 1.3732 daily SMA 200 1.3532 NBSP levels, previous daily high 1.3259, previous daily low 1.3192, previous weekly high 1.3451, previous weekly low 1.3234, previous monthly high 1.3646, previous monthly low 1.3331, daily Fibonacci 38.2%, 1.3218 daily Fibonacci 61.8%, 1.3233 daily pivot point S1 1.3192. Daily pivot point S2 1.3159, daily pivot point S3 1.3125, daily pivot point R1 1.3258, daily pivot point R2 1.3292, daily pivot point R3 1.3325 NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. U.S. retail sales quick analysis, last Harame risk critical stimulus, prove double-edged sword analysis, http ntvforex.com. News ID 19C59B 8/14/2020 12:54:12 p.m. U.S. retail sales beat expectations on almost all measures. NBSP. The data reflects the last month of full coronavirus-related fiscal stimulus. Robust figures may prompt lawmakers to drag their feet, causing a crash moving forward. V-shaped recovery. That is what retail sales figures for July reflect for the U.S. economy, and that was already seen in June. Overall expenditure increased by 1.2% last month, while below 1.9% expected. It was more than compensated by an upward revision to June's figures. Moreover, the all-important control group A, core of the core, which is used in growth calculations, A is up 1.4%, better than 0.8% projected, and also here, on top of an upward revision. NBSP consumption statistics complete an excellent week in America's economic releases. Initial jobless claims dropped below 1 million for the first time in 21 weeks, and non-farm payrolls exceeded forecasts with a jump of around 1.763 million in July. NBSP. All hunky-dory in the U.S. economy, not so fast. NBSP. The robust recovery is sales is a result of massive government support, which kept consumption in line with an economy running on full employment, according to Michael Gapin of Barclays. The federal unemployment top-up of $600 week was responsible on its own for around 5% of America's disposable income, according to economists at the hiring firm Indeed. Other programs also kept the economy afloat. NBSP. The funds compensate for a slowdown in the recovery triggered by the resurgence of coronavirus. While the slowdown is seen in the figures, the positive marks may turn negative without additional help. NBSP Republicans and Democrats let the July 31 deadline lapse without a deal. Trump's executive orders stipulate only $300 week A and have yet to be implemented. Support to small business and states A all in dire needs A is unclear. NBSP Moreover, the current figures may encourage lawmakers A, especially the ruling Republican Party A, to claim that additional assistance is unnecessary, or can be further reduced. While throwing money at the economy makes sense in an election year, having to do so is also an acknowledgement that the country is not doing well without the government. NBSP The results of pulling support away will be seen only later in August, and most probably only in September. By then, more Americans could lose their jobs and temporary position losses could turn permanent. NBSP All in all, upbeat retail sales figures A alongside other robust statistics A are good news on their own, but they could eventually become bad news by discouraging politicians from acting. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. The market mover today will be retail sales analysis http://ntvforex.com news ID 401D058142020 12:53:41 p.m. Outlook. The market mover today will be retail sales, expected to be higher but not as good a recovery as in May and June because of the extra unemployment benefits expiring at end July. Folks who track foot traffic in stores and other measures believe the data will disappoint, so perhaps EDA's already priced in. Or maybe not. June had a gain of only 7.5% after May delivered 18.2%. Today's number is expected at a rate of 1.52.5%. Bloomberg has 2.1%. Well, so what? Even if the number is okay, whatever okay may mean, percentage changes do not reflect the dollar losses of retailers. As we know already, many are going out of business at a rapid pace, mom and pop stores as well as big names like Brooks Brothers and Lord Amp Taylor. During the 2007-09 financial crisis, a total of 1,176 bigger names went bust. We need to expect double that this time, not to mention shopping malls themselves, and it has only just begun. We scoured Google for account, but apparently the data trackers can't keep up. Again, we have to complain that a good retail sales number is not actually good, because EDA's faulty extrapolation to see any rise as a recovery when EDA's no such thing. It might be hanging on by fingernails, but not a return to solvency, just as jobless claims under 1 million doesn't wipe out 21 straight weeks of claims over 1 million. Persisting in interpreting bad news as having a good face is delusional. A claim to optimism is probably industrial output, expected up 3% in July after 5.4%, less but not bad. The manufacturing component is expected to slow to 3% from 7.2% in June. Today we also get the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. Most analysts think the sample size is far too small to tell us anything useful. After the US data is out, attention can turn to the 6-month evaluation of the Phase 1 trade deal between the US and China this weekend. EDA's not getting much attention but has the potential to shock. We expect equities to recover because that's what they do. Traders peer into the abyss and then close their eyes to it. If so, that implies risk-off still rules and the dollar can slide some more. The problem is seeing what you want to see, and that may apply to FX as well. Tidbits: some Republican commentator like the USJ's Peggy Noonan are saying nice things about Kamala Harris. Golly! Those who dislike women, like Trump, are losing traction fast. He tried to pull the unqualified trick on Harris because while born in the US, her parents were not yet naturalized at the time. That doesn't count, disclosing again as if we needed evidence that Trump is clueless about the Constitution. In India, people are rushing to find some connection to Harisa family, as they did in Kenya when Obama became the candidate. Sweet. Separately, Bloomberg reports a federal judge gave Trump's campaign a day to turn over evidence supporting its claims of widespread mail-in voting fraud or admit it doesn't exist. The campaign and the Republican National Committee sued Pennsylvania Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar and local election boards over the mail-in plan. Elsewhere, the Department of Justice accused Yale of illegal discrimination against Asian Americans. Gee, who would have thought it? The case has been bubbling for 2 years. NBSP. This is an excerpt from the Rockefeller Morning Briefing, which is far larger, about 10 pages. The briefing has been published every day for over 25 years and represents experienced analysis and insight. The report offers deep background and is not intended to guide FX trading. Rockefeller produces other reports in spot and futures for trading purposes. To get a 2-week trial of the full reports plus trader's advice for only $3.95. Click here. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Euro JPY on the defensive near 126.00 ahead of USD. ntvforex.com news ID F2D3246 minutes ago by Pablo Piavano. Euro JPY fades the earlier uptick to the 126.50 area. EMU's flash Q2 GDP came in at 12.1 QoQ, in line with consensus. U.S. retail sales expanded 1.2% MOM in July. The renewed buying interest in the Japanese safe haven is forcing Euro JPY to give away initial gains near 126.50 and retreat to the 126.00 neighborhood at the time of writing. Euro JPY offered ahead of data. The upside pressure around the Japanese safe haven keeps Euro JPY under pressure on Friday, prompting the cross to abandon the area of recent 2020 highs Thursday. The bid bias in the yen comes amidst the recent move up in yields of the key U.S. 10-year note, which managed to advance past the 0.70% level, or 2-month tops. In the euro calendar, preliminary GDP figures in the euro region now see the economy contracting more than 12% during the April-June period and dropping around 15% on an annualized basis. In the U.S. calendar, headline retail sales expanded at a monthly 1.2% during July and core sales expanded 1.9% MOM. Later in the session, U.S. industrial production figures are due, seconded by the flash estimate of the consumer sentiment for the current month. Euro JPY relevant levels at the moment. The cross is losing 0.26% at 125.97 and a drop below 124.28. Low August 11 would aim for 122.87 monthly high January 16 and then 121.14 monthly high March 25. On the other hand, the next hurdle aligns at 126.75 2020 high August 13 followed by 126.80 monthly high April 17 2019 and finally 127.50 2019 high March 1. NBSP. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors. Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Bitcoin technical analysis. BTC/USD lags behind Ethereum, which already had a breakout above $400. http ntvforex.com news ID 6E23B2 1 minutes ago. Ethereum continues leading the way while BTC remains flat. BTC/USD did bounce from $11,000 up to $11,745, but a breakout still hasn't occurred. NBSP. Ethereum already got his new breakout and leg up while Bitcoin continues trading at $11,745 below the crucial resistance level at $12,000. The market dominance of Bitcoin has dropped to 58%, a level not seen since June 2019. BTC USD Daily Chart ETA. Important to note that Bitcoin is still in a robust daily uptrend and bullish, however, it is slower than Ethereum, which is currently taking the lead. The biggest resistance level remains at $12,000. Fortunately, bulls have been able to defend the daily 12 EMA and are at no risk right now. BTC USD Technical Levels. BTC USD Overview. Today last price 11,749.82. Today daily change 45.63. Today daily change percent 0.39. Today daily open 11,795.45. NBSP Trends. Daily SMA 20 11,289.12. Daily SMA 50 10,058.95. Daily SMA 100 9,700 148.6. Daily SMA 200 8875.98. NBSP Levels. Previous daily high 11,802.48. Previous daily low 11,276.49. Previous weekly high 12,112.72. Previous weekly low 10,583.38. Previous monthly high 11,457.43. Previous monthly low 8,907.52. Daily Fibonacci 38.2%. 11,601.55. Daily Fibonacci 61.8%. 11,477.42. Daily Pivot Point S1 11,447.13. Daily Pivot Point S2 11,098.82. Daily Pivot Point S3 10,921.15. Daily Pivot Point R1 11,973.12. Daily Pivot Point R2 12,150.79. Daily Pivot Point R3 12,499.1. NBSP Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors.